Are you looking for stories about resilience that inspire you? Do you enjoy it when justice finds its way, even if it's through the shortcuts of revenge? And do you love being caught off guard by the twists and turns of life? If the answer is yes, this is your channel. Unravel each story with us, a labyrinth of emotions that will keep you intrigued until the very last second. Be part of this community, subscribe, click the bell to be notified, leave your appreciation with a like and come. Because today's story holds emotions in store for you that you never imagined. Helena observed the morning light dancing on Alice's sleeping face. Her long brown hair, so like her own, framed the angelic face of the 7-year-old girl. A tender smile curved Helena's lips. Soon, Alice would wake up and the house would fill with her contagious energy, her incessant questions, and her tight hugs. Beside her, Rodrigo slept deeply, his face serene and carefree. Helena felt a pang of jealousy for that, peace that seemed oblivious to her own worries. She got up ostorojna, trying not to disturb her loved one's sleep, and walked to the window. The street was still quiet, the morning silence that precedes the hustle and bustle of the day. Helena took a deep breath, trying to calm the anxiety that had accompanied her in recent weeks, a dark premonition she was struggling to ignore. She needed to make coffee, Alice's lunch for school, organize the house before starting to work remotely. The routine, Helena thought, was her safe haven, the constant rhythm that prevented her from drowning in her own fears. The coffee was ready, the warm aroma filling the kitchen. Alice came down the stairs running, her little feet making a cheerful noise on the wooden steps. "Mommy!" she shouted, throwing herself into Helena's arms. Her daughter's tight hug momentarily dispelled the cloud of apprehension that hung over her. "Good morning, my love," Helena replied, kissing the top of her head. Rodrigo soon joined them, yawning and smiling. The morning scene was perfect, the image of the united and happy family that Helena had always dreamed of having. But behind her forced smile, doubt persisted, like a subtle shadow that followed her every move. At work, things were not easy. The project she had dedicated herself so much to had been cancelled, leaving her insecure about the future. At home, Rodrigo seemed distant, absorbed in his own thoughts, with increasingly superficial conversations and evasive glances. Helena tried to ignore the signs, convincing herself that it was just the stress of everyday life, but her feminine intuition told her otherwise. The week dragged on, each day more burdened by a silent tension that hung between Helena and Rodrigo. Conversations were short and formal, smiles rare and forced. Helena felt a lump in her throat every time she tried to start a deeper dialogue, a paralyzing fear of hearing the words she dreaded. Alice, with her childlike sensitivity, noticed the change in her parents' mood, becoming quieter and more observant. One night, while putting Alice to bed, Helena heard her whisper, "Mommy, why don't you and Daddy laugh anymore?" Her daughter's innocent question hit Helena like an arrow, intensifying the pain she was trying to hide. She hugged Alice tightly, feeling tears burn in her eyes. "Mommy loves you very much," she managed to say, her voice choked. That night, Helena decided she needed to face the truth, however painful it might be. She could no longer live in that atmosphere of uncertainty and anguish. Helena waited for Rodrigo to come home from work, her heart racing and her hands trembling. She had prepared dinner, his favorite food, hoping to create a more conducive environment for the conversation they needed to have. But seeing him walk through the door with his usual tired and distant expression, her courage wavered. They ate dinner in silence, only the clinking of cutlery breaking the weight of the tension. Alice was at her grandmother's house, a pretext for them to talk alone. When they finished, Helena took a deep breath and said, trying to keep her voice steady, "Rodrigo, we need to talk." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know, Helena. I also need to tell you some things." His tone was serious, confirming Helena's worst fears. She felt a chill run down her spine, but she stood firm, ready to hear the truth, whatever it was. Rodrigo began to speak, his voice hesitant at first, gaining firmness as the words came out. He confessed that he had been feeling unhappy for some time, that the routine and difficulties of their life together had worn down their relationship. Helena listened in silence, her heart tightening with each sentence. She had already suspected it, but hearing the words confirming her fears was like a knife in her chest. He continued, talking about someone else, a colleague with whom he had developed a bond, someone who understood him and made him feel alive again. Tears began to stream down Helena's face, silent and painful. The betrayal, the breach of trust, the destruction of the home they had built together. It was a searing pain, which seemed to tear her soul apart. She felt dizzy, as if the floor had fallen out from under her. The conversation stretched into the night, each word, each confession, deepening the wound in Helena's heart. Rodrigo expressed remorse, said he didn't want to hurt her, but the truth was cruel and relentless. The love that Helena believed to be solid and eternal had unraveled, crumbling before her eyes. The disappointment was overwhelming, the feeling of having been deceived by the person she trusted most. She remembered the happy times, the plans they had made together, the dreams they shared. Everything seemed like a sham now, an illusion that dissipated in the cold reality of betrayal. Helena felt empty, lost, not knowing how to move forward. The pain was so intense that she could barely breathe. But amidst the suffering, a small flame of strength began to glow within her. She looked at Rodrigo, her eyes filled with tears, and said, "You destroyed our family." The following days were a whirlwind of emotions for Helena. The pain of betrayal mixed with anger, sadness, and a profound sense of emptiness. She felt lost, aimless, like a boat adrift on a stormy sea. The house, once a cozy home, now seemed cold and strange, filled with memories of a love that no longer existed. Alice sensed her mother's sadness, her little eyes full of worry. Helena tried to be strong for her, not to let the pain consume her completely. She knew she needed to find the strength to move on for her daughter, for herself. The separation process was painful and complicated, full of arguments and resentments. Rodrigo had moved out, taking with him a part of Helena's life, leaving a huge hole in her heart. She felt alone, overwhelmed with the responsibility of taking care of Alice and rebuilding her life. In the midst of the chaos, Helena found refuge in her work and the support of her friends and family. They surrounded her with affection and understanding, offering a shoulder to cry on and words of encouragement in moments of greatest despair. Her best friend, Sophia, was by her side every step of the way, helping her deal with the bureaucracy of the separation and offering words of comfort in her darkest moments. Little by little, Helena began to see a light at the end of the tunnel. She realized that despite the pain, life went on, and that she had the opportunity to start over, to build a new future for herself and for Alice. She enrolled in a specialization course in her field, seeking new professional challenges and a way to feel fulfilled again. Taking care of Alice was her priority, and seeing her daughter's smile was what gave her the strength to face each day. Time passed, and the pain of loss began to transform into a soft longing, without the bitterness of resentment. Helena learned to live with Rodrigo's absence, to build a new routine alongside Alice. She dedicated herself to work, gaining new opportunities and professional recognition. At home, the atmosphere became lighter and more cheerful, filled with Alice's laughter and the affection of friends who became her new family. Helena discovered an inner strength she didn't even know she possessed. She had survived the pain, the disappointment, and emerged stronger and more resilient. Looking to the future, she felt a glimmer of hope, the certainty that she could be happy again, even if in a different way than she had imagined. She had turned things around, rebuilding her life brick by brick with love, courage, and the certainty that the best was yet to come. The years that followed brought new colors to Helena's life. The wound of betrayal had healed, leaving only a faint scar, a reminder that she had overcome a great ordeal. Alice grew up happy and healthy, an intelligent and affectionate girl who was the center of Helena's universe. They built a life together, filled with special moments, trips, games, and lots of love. Helena became an independent and professionally successful woman, fulfilled by the work she loved and the freedom to make her own decisions. She had learned to trust herself, to value her strength and resilience. The past no longer haunted her. It was just a part of her story, a chapter that had shaped her and made her stronger. On a beautiful spring day, while walking with Alice in a flowery park, Helena ran into an old college friend, Lucas. Time had passed, but the connection between them was immediate, as if they had never separated. They talked for hours, laughed, reminisced about old times, and discovered they had a lot in common. Lucas was a kind, intelligent, and attentive man who admired Helena's strength and determination. Little by little, a new flame began to ignite in Helena's heart, a feeling different from what she had felt for Rodrigo, more mature, more serene. She was hesitant at first, afraid to commit to a new relationship and relive the pain of the past. But Lucas's presence in her life was gentle and comforting, bringing joy and lightness to her days. Over time, the friendship between Helena and Lucas blossomed into a sincere and deep love. He became a loyal and dedicated companion who loved Helena and Alice unconditionally. Together, they built a new family based on respect, trust, and affection. Helena had found happiness, again, not in the way she had imagined, but in an even more special and meaningful way. She looked back with gratitude for the lessons she had learned, for the strength she had found within herself. The great love disappointment had turned into an opportunity for growth and rediscovery. Helena had turned things around, not just surviving the pain, but flourishing amidst the trials, finding a truer and more lasting love. Her story was proof that even after the greatest storms, the sun always shines again. Helena gazed at the flower garden, a serene smile on her lips. Alice played carefree with Lucas, the sound of their laughter echoing through the house. This was the picture of happiness she had built with so much effort, a genuine and lasting happiness. She remembered the dark days, the searing pain of betrayal, the feeling that she would never be happy again. But she had persisted, found strength where she thought there was none, and rebuilt her life with courage and determination. Rodrigo was a distant memory, a ghost of the past that no longer had power over her emotions. She had forgiven him, not for him, but for herself, to be able to move forward without the burden of resentment. Looking at Alice, Helena felt her heart overflow with love. Her daughter was her greatest inspiration, the reason she never gave up. Seeing Alice grow up happy and loved, with Lucas as a present and caring father, was the greatest reward she could wish for. Lucas had entered her life at the right time, filling the void left by Rodrigo with a calm and constant love. He admired her for her strength, for her resilience, and loved her exactly as she was, with her qualities and her flaws. Together, they had built a welcoming home, a place where love, respect, and complicity were the pillars of their life together. Helena's journey had not been easy, but she had learned valuable lessons along the way. She discovered the importance of loving herself first, of valuing her own happiness, and of not depending on anyone to feel complete. She learned that love disappointments, however painful they may be, can be opportunities for growth and transformation. And above all, She learned that true love exists and that it can arise when you least expect it, bringing with it the promise of a happier and more radiant future. Helena smiled, feeling grateful for life, for Alice, for Lucas, and for the strong and independent woman she had become. Her story was proof that, even in the face of the greatest pain, it is possible to turn things around and find happiness again. This story is based on real stories. If you like this type of story, follow this page, because every day we publish new and exciting stories like the ones you will see now.